Fandom. I am your host, RM, and we are here with Lorena Creole tonight for our Crown Season 5 watch party. How are you tonight, Lorena?
I am doing great, doing amazing, and so excited about watching season 5 of The Crown. I've been seasons 1 through 4, and I'm so ready for season 5.
Oh, I am so excited. This has been such an unusual year for the royal family. So many events going on, Lorena. And we've been talking about season 5, and it's finally here. It just dropped yesterday or the day before, I think. Lorena, this
hmm
is so exciting. Thank you for joining me for this. I'm just thrilled. Okay. All right, so guys, we are watching it on Netflix. It's obviously the Crown series is on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, Lorena and I are going to be starting season 5, episode 1. I'm going to press the start button, and it's got the Netflix the end. And it's
Ta-da.
series 55 minutes 29 seconds. Her Majesty in Scotland. Ooh, you have to do hello, 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 everyone. Yes.
I
And
love the black and white.
yeah, they do such a great recreation of this stuff. Certainly, ship launching was a big deal back then, and it was primarily the way people were crossing the Atlantic and everywhere
hmm
else.
Exactly.
Airfare was too much. I guess in the I don't know what year this is, but the people were still spending a lot of money on crossings on the boat, and so. But
hmm
as I was telling you, can you imagine having your own a boat of this size? Like it's just
I couldn't. I couldn't like imagine. I mean, I've seen boats around, like kind of like your little boat you can push out there, or one that you might have to like tow behind your car, but never like a yacht, just like staffed with people, and it's got bedrooms and a bathroom in it, and it's something that's on a whole different type of level.
yeah. Where you and I live, we are accustomed to seeing people towing boats.
Yes.
And I remember in my mother's house when I would go to the bathroom in the on the ground level. If you looked out the window, you could see my neighbor's boat in his yard. So, like a fond memory of seeing his boat there. And then when the boat wasn't there, I knew it was like he was on the water. So,
hmm
so we're accustomed to seeing maybe a what we would consider your typical boat that you can just go.
Yeah, like your typical boat, or especially fishing boats,
Yes.
like shrimp boats. That was probably the biggest one that I've ever seen, has been like a shrimp boat or a crab boat, because they have to bring their catch in. So it's big just on space, but not like a yacht where you could go out to sea for like days and and come back.
It's so impressive. And this season is starting off. You and I were talking about what a great job Claire Foy did, and now it's moved on to another actress who that Claire Foy I think played the first 2 seasons, and then there was Olivia Colman I think who did for 3 and 4, and of course this
Mhm.
is the lady from Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, Dolores Umbridge. I loved to freaking hate her because she played that role so good. I hated her more than Voldemort, and I didn't think that was possible. But the actress was brilliant.
Yeah.
So I love seeing her, because this incarnation of Queen Elizabeth II is the one that I grew up seeing. It's like there was the pictures from her as like a young woman. Like when you see the pictures of your grandparents as like young people, you're like, oh, okay, that's what you were like. But okay, this is what I remember, her being like. So I love this actress. This is spot on casting.
I agree 100%. Lorena, not everybody can play this role, the mindset of a British royal here. She is this character, and I'm the same way. This is Elizabeth that I knew as well. Only time I would ever see her different if you had money, right? A pound note or something that might have a
hmm
picture of her from years ago.
Yes. Where she's very, but you're right, like on the money, when she's younger, like the like the British pound, sometimes the Canadian dollars. And see it, I'm like, she's she's everywhere. But yeah, of her, as being younger.
I wonder what. Oh, is it the castle that caught on fire? You remember she had a home in Great Britain that had a fire in it, and that
Really?
yeah, it was one of her. She does like Balmoral, but there's another castle that is
Hmm.
she considers more of her favorite. But honestly, even to be able to say that you have a favorite castle,
Usually we don't really get to see that. I just remember from, I mean, I'd seen Buckingham Palace in person, but I remember her being at Balmoral
yeah,
um the most.
absolutely. And that's something else that I love about this series is the interiors that we get to see. It's just unbelievable.
They are appointed in a way, it's, how would I put it? It's kind of like just the way that upscale or like European castles are like decorated. And it's the kind of style that you see somewhat mimicked here, never to like that level. It's very, it's very Americanized. Even if, like, say, you visit Savannah, which is one of the most American British towns you'll ever visit in the South, and you see the architecture, which looks very much like it's somewhere in the UK. It looks like Liverpool with all of the construct with the way the houses are constructed. The interiors, they're like that, but not with like all the gilding and everything. But if you do have it and you do have a house that's like that, that's like you're in Southern Architectural Digest.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is also the Diane that I remember with the haircut. Everybody was trying to get that haircut.
Yeah, she brought in short hair again, and the her '80s fashion, and I guess even '90s fashion. So many people tried to emulate, um, in general, and I think that she was just such an icon. It just I don't think we've known anybody quite like her since then. What do you think, Lorena?
I would have to agree. I There hasn't been a royal like her with that type of style and approachability, I would say, in a way. Like, I remember in season 4 when they were showing when she was in the US, her trip to the US, and she was actually, I think she was in Harlem.
Yes.
She went there to visit, and they were just like, people don't come to visit us, especially, a royal like you. And she was just there going to all of these places that royals wouldn't normally go. So that, combined with like her wardrobe, her style. Although at one time she did get flack that people thought that her hairstyle was too American because she had it frosted and looked like she came straight out of Dynasty, which I loved to death.
Mhm.
It was amazing. I love that haircut. But supposedly in the tabloids, when I read, they were like, "Oh, the Crown deemed it that she looked too American," and I'm like, "Okay, it looked good on her."
Yeah, she always kept that style and maintained that, which was something that we never had to worry about in regards to her uh,
Hmm.
looking appropriate. And I know certainly we're going to see things that in this season pertain
Hmm.
to her that may be different. And here she is talking about looking at the other family members.
Hmm.
And of course, she's talking to one of her secretaries, one of her confidants, who,
Hmm.
um, you know, pretty much knows her schedule and everything. And that's her there. That is that supposed to be the new Charles? I think so, right, Lorena?
I believe so.
The soundtrack as well does have a very regal flair to it, and well, I would imagine this type of music appropriate for dramatizing their lives.
Mm-hmm. It has a very it has a very soap opera tone, I would say. But I think this is Hans Zimmer.
Oh, interesting. Thank you
I've
for
seen
pointing that out.
I've seen his name in the credits.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Hans Zimmer. It's like when it comes to like musical scores, of course, John Williams is the GOAT. Then you have Hans Zimmer, and then you have Ramin Djawadi, who actually did the soundtrack for the first Iron Man movie. He did the Game of Thrones theme.
oh, wow. I love that theme.
He did that one, and I can't remember his name, but I think the last name is Dranson. He did the theme for The Mandalorian.
Yes, and he also did the music for Black Wakanda Forever, right?
Wakanda Forever and Black Panther. Yes.
He's very,
Yes.
very talented. He's just a kid.
Yeah.
That guy.
He's where Ramin Djawadi was, I want to say 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's like on his way up. So kind of like in the spectrum of like composers, that's kind of like, I guess, the hierarchy you would say right now.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. That's definitely Charles. His mannerisms and the
Yes.
diction sounds like King Charles now. And the children do look like one of the boys does look like, I think, either Harry or William there at the table. So
Mm-hmm. You have William, and there's Harry with the red hair. Mm. Yes, we must do the shopping.
Of course. Of course.
Yes.
Me. No, the entire point of being on a yacht like this is to go from port to port to go shopping.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to Naples. We're going shopping in Naples. We're going shopping. We're going all up and down and around the Italian coast to just roll off there and go shopping.
Absolutely.
I think that also shows just the age difference between the two of them. They're like from two different eras. And that's like part of the conflict.
Now, Lorena, you and I talked about seeing a series where we get to see the children. This is maybe one of the first times I've really seen them depicted as children and perhaps in a scenario with their mother. I've never really seen this before. Have you?
Haven't seen this depicted like this before. I know for me personally, when she would visit the US, especially because I remember when when I was in college, she and the boys were in Disney World. They were actually they were staying at the Grand Floridian. They were in Disney World. She was taking the kids like they were any other kids. You know, they walked in, people were like, oh my God, you know, like clapping and everything. And she was like, oh, it's okay. And I thank you, but I'm kind of just here, you know, with my children. So it seems like every time we saw them in the press, we saw her with her children.
Right.
But I don't think it's been depicted like this, you know, on screen before. But I love it because she just wanted to be their mother, and that's what endeared her to so many people.
Yeah, and I also think that the children had to understand what the modern world was like. You know, for example, when Kate and William had their wedding, of course they had had to invite certain people, but they also wanted to have a traditional style reception, you know, where you invite your friends, you know, you dance or you dance to celebration, all of
Right.
things which was not traditional. they wanted to have and enjoy. And I think it's because of Diana's influence in introducing them to what the rest of the world or the real world is like.
I agree, because she wanted them to know what the world was truly like.
Mhm.
You know, with her generation, they more exposure to, you know, to other people. Because at her young age before she got married, she's like, "Yeah, I'm living with my friends," you know, in Earl's Court, and Anne's like, you know, making fun of her, like, "Oh God, only prostitutes live there," you know.
So you just walk past them and go to the club down the street.
Yeah, but for her, she was just like, "I'm just living with my friends, living my best life right now, meeting all these interesting people. I'm not, you know, sheltered away, and you're determining who I can see, who I can't see."
Certainly.
Totally, like, totally, you know, totally different. So, yeah, and she passed that on to her kids, which I think was invaluable, because they made them, to us, they're like the royals that are our age. We're just like, "Yeah, we know what they," and they can relate pretty much to the rest of us in a way with what's going on in the world.
And also, and I'm sure the viewers who are watching this, this was pre-internet, pretty much pre-cell phone for a lot of us. Maybe you had a flip phone if you were lucky.
Mhm.
But the way people got information was still by newspaper or the evening news, and you had to go to the library to do research. So it was a completely different world then. There weren't
Yeah.
portable devices like we have now.
Mhm. The card catalog was Google, supposedly, you know.
Absolutely.
Who is the actor who plays Prince Philip now?
It's a good question.
'Cause
And then actor,
I've
right?
seen him before. Yeah. Oh my gosh. He was in, Pirates of the Caribbean, Elizabeth Swann's father.
These are all heavy hitters when it comes to acting. They got the best of the best. Um,
Absolutely.
the man who plays Charles, he's famous. I can't remember his name, but I've seen him in a ton of things. Now, the lady who is playing Diana, I haven't seen her, but boy, I've never seen such a great Diana. Just even her posture here is
Yes.
it's like looking at Princess Diana.
The way she would stand, you know, the way she would look, the pictures that they, you know, the pictures that they would shoot her. She always just had this way about her.
Yes.
And it's like she studied that very, 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 very closely. I find this very interesting. Here's like the dynamic. It's like when you see Diana, there's usually some kind of music we know
Yes. Of
that she's, you know, that she's dancing to, or she's singing to. The fact that they're, you hear Mariah Carey, they're blasting Mariah Carey.
course. He doesn't seem very committed to this charade, if you will, of the success of their marriage.
No, I think he's just over it. He's over it. And one of the things that's really been really apparent to me watching this, that I hadn't noticed before, is a lot of Charles's jealousy over just how easy it is for her to relate to other people, and the press pretty much just gravitating to her, and it's something that he just cannot handle.
I think it's especially disturbing for him since he has been in the spotlight his whole life. And, perhaps it's something he's always held at bay and, found
Mhm.
annoying to a certain level and has been limited in certain ways that she hasn't. So she comes on board, she's married to him, but she still has this certain sense of freedom, this that he doesn't care for, but maybe perhaps desires. He doesn't have it, but she has that. We've accepted that she can touch your hand and hold you and give you a hug, if she wanted to. We didn't feel awkward if we saw her do that. Um,
Right.
he may not have that freedom. The Queen Elizabeth may not have that freedom, but she has it. And that that level of affection and compassion that she can openly show is something that it's not that he doesn't feel it, but he's been taught not to do that. I think it's very interesting. It goes against a lot of what he's this inner conflict, if you will, of what
Mm-hmm.
he's supposed to be doing and what's acceptable as a royal. Not a reflection on how he might truly feel, but it's creating an inner conflict from having someone more reserved as his partner. And she honestly, for most accounts, Lorena, she is actually
Mm-hmm.
very reserved. It's just that at certain moments she knows that she can go ahead and reach out to someone when it's appropriate, like in a hospital setting, or
Mm-hmm.
someone is telling her something important. So I think that that's, it's kind of interesting when, when we think about it that way. Um, I certainly wouldn't call Diana a wild kind of behaving lady. She always
Right.
maintained that. And if she was on vacation, she was on vacation.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. She just there wasn't really any pretense with her, but with Charles, he's pretty much like he always has to be standing on ceremony. And Camilla's kind of just like, well, you know how it is, and I understand. And that's kind of, she's resigned herself to knowing that that's what it is, but Diana isn't satisfied with that.
Yes, certainly you hit the nail on the head. To see what?
What is this about? Man, that's,
Looks like
whew.
it looks like a cruise ship, like a celebrity cruise.
It does. It does. I'm not a fan really of cruise. Well, I didn't know what I was doing on the first cruise. Now I know better about, you know, I don't have to go do all the things if I don't want to. If I don't want to do all the things. I'm like, oh, cruise like that. Love it.
They're keeping something from her.
Very, yes.
Why is anyone saying that the queen can't read a newspaper? What's in the newspaper that they don't want her to?
It makes me wonder what it is. It may be news that they don't want to distress her. I'm thinking it's something probably, I guess, quite disturbing, maybe. The queen should abdicate in favor of the Prince of Wales. I guess that's before they found out just how much of a whatever he was.
Oh, that's why they didn't want her to see it.
That it, it's funny. That's interesting to see because my whole reaction is kind of just like, why?
I had no idea that that was even a thing at one time. Did you?
I didn't. I did. As I knew, maybe I was out of the loop. As far as I knew, people were just kind of like Queen Elizabeth. Keep her there
Yeah.
with everything that was going on with Charles. It was pretty much Queen Elizabeth, and can we skip over Charles and go straight to straight to William?
Hmm.
Pseudo pretext.
Now that must be her daughter, right?
Yes, that's Anne.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, Anne was quite an accomplished equestrian, and I think might have at some point either competed for the Olympics or qualified for the Olympic team in Great Britain. But here she is older. She's got to be in her 40s. If the Queen is 65 here, um, and she's obviously touring with her mom. Um, and I believe by this time, Queen Anne was married and had children, but she might have,
Hmm.
by this time gotten a divorce from her husband. I think she got married in the 70s. So,
Hmm. That looks very much like Massachusetts in a way. Aquarius, he's the horse guy.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. Equerry, an equerry?
That's what I was thinking. Usually that's horses or equine
Yeah.
care.
Now, I wonder what they mean by Queen Victoria syndrome, which is the title of this episode.
Hmm. That's interesting. Be interesting to have them explain what that is. I mean, when I think of Queen Victoria, I mean that whole Victorian era, she was just very I don't know. Something about the era was just totally influential. The fact that they called it like Victorian England, your classic Christmas is based on like Dickens. Everyone says that's like the Victorian era of like decor and etiquette standards and all
Oh,
of that. So that's
like it.
interesting to know.
She's not going to like that he. Well, he didn't bring one of his friends along that I think he, if given the choice, would have liked to have brought along. But I think it would have caused a scandal if she came along with them, right?
I think so. Totally.
He can't walk out right now. This looks bad. Mm. And there are the photographers waiting, right?
Wow. You're
It's
like, forget.
overwhelming.
Hmm?
It's overwhelming.
Very much so. The cameras with the huge lenses and I want to say, was this a time when photography equipment actually became more compact? I think maybe.
It started to go from, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe it started to go from, I don't know. This is a good question. Yeah, maybe there were more instant focus cameras, point and shoot, kind of things.
Mhm.
Those professional photographers are, like having a lens that's like 3 feet long. It's just, I can't even think about photography on that level. Oh, that's John Major.
Okay, because because what did he do?
I don't remember.
Did he succeed? Did he directly succeed Thatcher?
Quite, yeah, maybe he did. She was in there for a long time, so maybe he did succeed her.
Okay. Because of all the out of all the prime ministers, it's like Margaret Thatcher is the first one
Yes.
that I know of, and then the next is like John Major. Ooh, I let it chair. That's almost like the really nice old houses in Savannah will have that kind of appointment.
Everything looks so incredible.
It's so posh. But then again, Southerners were real big on mimicking what British lords and ladies would do. It's interesting. I'm like, where's he going with this? Okay.
Oh, he wants to see if he will be allowed. This is very controversial, Lorena. He wants to see if there's a way or a possibility that he might be then in power now. Is that what he's alluding to?
He's already now, but I think he's picking his brain about that article about, they want Charles to be the monarch instead of Queen Elizabeth, and to get an idea of quote unquote what the people are thinking. That's probably why he's talking to prime minister. It's it's kind of like, I want to say, the flip side of what was happening with Margaret Thatcher and Queen Elizabeth. When Queen Elizabeth would say certain things, and Margaret Thatcher would, kind of remind her about, about the people. Hmm.
Yes, but he ended up being someone who changed the entire parliament because he was the one who changed the way that the lords had power in parliament. They didn't have it anymore. Uh,
Oh.
yeah, so he's talking about Edward. It was very different what he did. Um, no one's done anything like that since. He changed the peerage power so that the power is to the majority of the people. At least, so don't correct me, guys. I think that's what he did. But he can't compare himself to his that former king. It's just not possible.
Hmm.
That
Mhm.
What? Is he doubting the his mother's ability to rule now? The delivery of it is very sus.
Very much so. Because they're saying that his mother is out of touch. So the next thing he does is goes to the prime minister, and that's why he's, blowing smoke up the prime minister's backside. I mean, Queen Elizabeth didn't do that. She had, like, Margaret Thatcher there, and they were very clear and honest. But Charles is kind of like, well, let me blow smoke up your butt about, well, you're from this working class background and all of that, and I acknowledge that. Perhaps maybe you could see that I could possibly be king and be, a very good king. And, you do something for me, I do something for you. It's all very it's all very underhanded,
Mhm.
exactly. What he's up to. And you can just see how uncomfortable John Major is, like, okay, dude, what do you want? Why are you saying this? You know,
Why does this
to
have to happen on my watch?
exactly, exactly. Because John Major, of course, he's got sway with Parliament. So interesting. I love Scottish plaid.
So beautiful.
I love it. Please tell me that that view is real and not CGI, because it's beautiful. Yes. He's like, I take that personal, what they're saying about you.
See, at least if she had gotten it in drips and drabs, she could handle it. Now to get a whole stack of papers that say she's incompetent, she shouldn't rule, they should skip over her, it's going to come
Mhm.
like a one crushing blow to her now.
I think in a lot of ways, I think with her staff, or her personal staff, they become just so protective towards her, almost to the point of, like, we have to protect the queen. And it's pretty much like, I can make up my own mind, but it's like they feel such a duty to protect her and not have her worry about stuff that they think is useless BS.
Oh, she's worried.
Yeah, she's like, is this what they truly think? Out of touch, irrelevant, bluntly old. I believe I do remember rumblings about this
Hmm.
when Diana was alive. It's like they just seem completely out of touch. I think especially when they would give Diana grief for going to AIDS wards and, like, bringing the kids with her. But again, I think this was before people started to find out just how shady Prince Charles was. I love this architecture. Oh my gosh, it reminds me of so many places in Philly,
Hmm.
around Philadelphia, that have, they're like mini castles. Actually, one college that was actually a castle built like that same fashion. Look at those scones. Those are the English grandmothers of Southern biscuits.
Hmm. Really good. Pretty good right about now.
Oh my god, yes, with like jam and English cream, marmalade. Mm-hmm. She had a point.
Mm.
She was a very powerful monarch.
But
See,
she loses the boat, doesn't she? She has to give it up.
I think she does. I think she does. But I'm saying it's interesting how both of them, whenever they want some kind of uh, pulse check, so to speak, they'll go to the prime minister. Was this around when they were trying to get her to pay taxes?
And take away her allotments and
Yeah.
um I guess allowances. And I think they got rid of it. I think this was the where they stopped the boat because they felt that it was too pricey. I don't know whether it was now, but I know they had to do away with it eventually.
Hmm.
They cannot justify her keeping a yacht.
No. If
It
it
was
was your own money, it'd be different. But you're asking, the coal miner in Wales to pay to retrofit your yacht.
and it certainly makes her sound out of touch.
Yes.
That's her favorite spot.
Hmm.
It's very, very bold.
It's like this is not going to go over well.
I can hear them in there in thinking, hey, hey, like yelling, Her Majesty wants to spend millions on her yacht,
Hmm.
and half of the people don't have food on their tables.
Oh, starving. Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, hey.
Parliament proceedings crack me up.
The right honorable gentleman.
And they'll just go on and on. It's like a floor show in a way. It's very interesting. Is that
Fergie? I think
yes.
Fergie.
Is that Fergie?
I don't know. It looks like it could be.
I'm just looking at the red hair.
Hmm.
I don't,
Well, that's Margaret, Princess
mhm.
Margaret.
Still sucking them cancer sticks. Queen Mum.
At this time, she was still alive. Margaret was still alive.
Hmm.
And there's Diana.
Mhm. Everyone, are they wearing the Queen's tartan print?
Yeah, probably. I'm
Like
not sure which
this?
one it is, but I'm guessing that's what it
How
must
Yeah, I'm just totally guessing.
be. Knowing how people feel about her at this ball is not the easiest situation to kind of come out and present yourself.
Mhm. Mother. Charles. Of course, everyone wants to dance with the Queen Mum.
I don't know. The yacht looked fine to me. What about to you?
It looked fine on the outside, but I think it's just because of how old, I guess how old that it is. I'm guessing around this time, maybe it was like about 40, 50 years old, I guess. So I'm thinking just the upkeep on it, the maintenance of it, and, it's not like a fishing boat or something like that. Why it's so expensive. I have to laugh that she said Saturnalia. Oh, you do know. Well.
Hmm. Now the party can really start, right?
Mhm. Now we can get down. Her and
Oh,
Philip are gonna go to bed.
thank
Well, go to
God.
sleep. Put it this way.
They're like, thought she'd never leave.
Yeah, no, dang. Did you see that? Did you see what? Margaret's like, come on now. Yes, you're gonna anyway. Like Charles gives a damn about the public. Hmm.
Poor John Major. Oh boy.
She's like, really? Let me tell you.
What a thing to say.
Dang.
John Major is like, not why on my watch does this have to be happening? I didn't sign up for this.
I just signed up to Run the country. Keep Parliament in line. I did not want to have to deal with all y'all freaking drama.
He's probably like, "What's the earliest train out of here?"
Hmm.
Hmm.
Like the business of the government. That's what you think that you have to, deal with.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's Fergie there for sure, and Diana together.
Hmm.
Oh, it is John Major. It's gonna erupt like crazy.
Gonna be
It's gonna go,
nuts.
and sure enough, here are the words on my watch. That's right, John Major. It's about to go cray cray.
Hmm. I mean, it's about to be a whole nother level of chicanery that's going to happen with these because you had Andrew and Fergie,
Hmm.
and since they're kind of like second stringers, Queensland, like whatever they had there. I think most they argued a lot about him being at sea so much, and he's like away, but she knew that.
Okay, so we're going into episode 2 now of The Crown. Episode 1
All
was
right.
Call Lorena. This is the system. Um,
Oh, okay.
has it started automatically started for you as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm. With an accident. Don't let it poop on you. Don't let it do that. Hmm.
Carriage driving is his. This is dangerous. You shouldn't be doing that.
And she's like, YOLO. That's kind of crazy. But I guess that's his thing. Hmm. I need to talk to you for a minute.
That is
Oh,
funeral.
who died?
Is it the Queen Mother?
Um, when did the Queen Mother die?
A few years before Margaret died.
Oh, okay.
I think they actually,
Okay.
I think they died like a year with apart one another. So maybe it's not the Queen Mother. I hope I'm sorry, I don't know the exact
I
date.
could have sworn for some reason. Oh no, that's their daughter. The one that supposedly was in remission. I just saw the picture because I think the queen mother, I want to say she died.
A little bit later than this.
I think for some reason that sounds very recent when she passed away. Yeah, she died in 2002.
Mhm.
That's when the queen mother died.
Okay.
Yeah, because I thought it was not like super recent, but it was pretty recent. Well, I guess 2002 isn't super recent, but I knew it wasn't this far back. That's so sad. That's so sad.
Hmm. You gonna confess something or
It's like, well, remember that time?
before it comes out in the papers, I figured you ought to know.
Hmm. I always found it so odd that they had separate bedrooms.
It was a question that I had, but this is, in the generation they grew up in, not separate bedrooms, but husbands and wives they had like two twin beds, some couples. And I'm like, oh, you have two twin beds. Okay. So each person sleeps on a twin bed in the same room. Like it's
I had never seen that, even in my grandparents' houses. I'd never seen that. I think the first time I saw separate beds was on a reruns of I Love Lucy. I'm like,
they didn't want to show a couple in bed together, so they
exactly.
split it apart. And it's like, we
I'm
know
like,
this is what really
I'm
happened.
like, they're married. That doesn't make sense to me. Oh, that's a big phone.
You were something if you had a portable phone like that. If you had a phone like that.
Wow, considering how much this does. And back in the 80s, that was like the thing.
Mhm. But you had the other part. Remember the other part, like that unit. That
Hmm.
so the signs. We love you, Di. We love you, Diana.
Hmm.
Now this was something she was known for, right, Lorena? Visiting hospitals, going.
AIDS wards, especially, mainly for like young children, like AIDS wards for young children. She would just do this. And I think in a lot of ways she got love from the people than she did with being in the royal family, I think. She just always seems so happy.
Mhm.
I think that was kind of like what was such a shock when you find out her marriage was so unhappy, but she would just go to these places and just like light up. And I remember the suits like that.
Those were expensive suits. I think of like Cartier or Chanel,
Was
um,
it Versace?
Versace.
Versace?
Close friends with him.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly the best of the best.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Andrew Morton. Why does that name sound familiar? Why does that name sound familiar? I
No.
need to do a search. I think I have read something of his. Uh, Morton. Uh,
She's British, but she's wearing an American university's jersey, which is unusual.
yeah, Harvard. Almost like wearing that jersey is kind of like wearing an Oxford jersey, and you're here in the U.S.
Someone listening into her conversations?
I think so. I think so. I did read that book. It's been a long time. Andrew Morton wrote a biography of Diana's life. I remember reading that.
Something like that.
Yeah, the cover was what I remember. It was a very, very gorgeous, gorgeous cover. I'm gonna look this up on Amazon. Now I wonder where the heck I put that book. Wow. Hmm. I may have to get that audiobook because I think I had the actual printed book. I don't know where it is. Like years ago that I got it. Look at this beautiful Tudor style
Stunning.
interior. Yes. Almost scary how I can recall that. Oh,
Oh, it's stunning. Hmm.
it's a shame.
Mhm.
I've seen her somewhere before.
Mhm.
Hmm.
She was in a film called is it, Solaris with
That's
George Clooney.
okay. I don't think I saw her in that. I saw her in. It's gonna drive me nuts. I've seen her in something else before.
She's done a lot of work.
Yes. He's so tough. Hmm.
Does she have a carriage for him?
Interesting. Yeah, you might want this.
Is it safe though? It looks
You
kind of
called it.
yes. Yeah, it looks a little outdated and perhaps not in good shape.
It's gonna need some Faster the Furious work done on it.
We'll hook you up.
Hit my carrot, something like that. Hmm.
Ooh.
Hmm. It's not. It's not for me.
It isn't. It's not her style.
I don't think this should be for me. Is that racquetball or squash?
I think it's racquetball. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, I like squashed. I'm like, what the heck is that?
It looks like it could be squash because the paddles, like racquetball uses wooden paddles and maybe squash
Ah,
with the little net things. I could be wrong.
okay. So who is this John Majors talking to?
It seems like a nice area to ride a bike in.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where this is.
Ooh.
Well,
Squash.
oh, okay, okay. Oh, that's funny. She just pulled one of the kids' toys from under the pillow. Really? Hmm.
Yeah, you know this book situation is going to be a disaster, isn't it? Does that even make any sense?
What does?
That someone's writing a book and they've never actually spoken? Well, I guess it could be written.
Yeah, third person, second, third hand person accounts, and
That's what the
excuse
name of
me,
the book is. Diana in her own words. That's the name of the book, isn't it?
something. I think I had that book a long time ago.
Because he actually says it. He says it'll all be in your own words. I'm like, that's the name of the book. It's called Diana in her own words.
I'm
I
gonna have to download that on Audible, actually.
oh, she wants you to.
Mhm. I'm so jealous of those books. Look
Yeah, those
at
beautiful
that
libraries.
library. It's like digital is great, but it's just something about having that bound copy of a book. There's just something about it that just seems so civilized. I can't put my finger on it, but it just is. What are you setting fire to stuff out here? I guess that's part of the okay, okay.
Yeah. I didn't know that's what they were doing either. So
And it like binds itself
when
to
you
it. I saw this somewhere.
the metal expands when you heat it, and then when you cool it down, it contracts.
Mhm.
I wonder how much it costs to make this carriage.
It was not cheap. I'll bet.
Oh wow, it does look nice.
Look at these horses. Have you ever ridden in a carriage like that before?
Well, only in Manhattan, those are just ordinary carriages, not anything as fancy as this one. This looks very, very special, unique carriage. How about you?
Yes, they have them in St. Augustine, depending on which company is driving the carriage. And in like the Christmas parade and the Easter parades, like we usually get a carriage for the Los Floridanos Society.
Hmm.
And yeah, was in a carriage like that with well, it only had like one horse. I only had one horse, but it was a very interesting experience being in a carriage like that with one driver and an animal pulling it. It was just a very interesting experience.
You're going along for the ride, but the animals, I mean, you can't fully control them necessarily.
No, you can't. And one of them, I think when we were there were a couple of other horses that were there, and our horse got like spooked and was like backing up and one because they were new horses that she didn't know and she didn't take too kindly to it and was backing up and she was a little freaked out. It's like you have the reins to control them, but sometimes if they get spooked or around horses they don't know, especially male horses they don't know or trying to get a little nosy. I don't like that.
Yeah, he better not go too fast. He's a little bit of
Well,
a devil.
before the SUV, I guess you had this. Or wait, no, 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 it's Britain. So we'll say before the Range Rover, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah, this.
he's going a little too fast for my
Is
taste.
that the equivalent of doing donuts?
It is. I'd
Mm,
have to put on. We'd have to put on our period clothes. Our costume drama
yes.
gowns and ride in that carriage, Lorena.
Hmm. For full effect, we'd have to have the matching,
Hmm.
beautiful hats and which was anything but.
Why do we have a feeling this is not going to work out well?
It's just not going to go the way you think it is.
Mm-mm.
I wonder if word gets out about this book. And it's yet another thing that is out of the queen's control.
Yes. They may not even be aware it's happening. The publishers and the whoever controls publicity in the palace may not even be aware that this is happening.
Hmm. Oh my gosh, that looks like Monticello
It
in
does.
Virginia. It's amazing, all these like architectural callbacks. That's one of the things that flipped me out about going to London. I'm just like, that looks like a place I know. That looks like a place I know. That looks like Old City, Philadelphia. That's crazy. Wow. A cassette tape recorder.
Old school.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. Oh, wow. Especially considering how young she was.
Hmm. Oh, she's binge eating.
Hmm. That heifer was at the wedding?
Yeah, I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was this book more popular in the United Kingdom than it was in the US at the time when it came out?
It may have been. I just remember hearing about it because I remember seeing the cover. I would say, like, over here, it's more like a curiosity, but as they're like the monarchy, and over there in the UK, that it would be more popular. Just my guess.
And this book is exactly what would shatter the public's opinion about Charles and Diana.
Completely, because they think that they have the fairy tale, marriage, wedding, relationship, all of that. That's why, just like the Queen and Prince Philip, just like, you folks need to get your stuff together. We can't have any like appearances or everything. Well,
It's heartbreaking to hear that.
it is.
And at that time, Lorena, talking about suicide, talking about eating disorders, talking about mental health was not something people did.
No. Well, yeah, like, I didn't say that. So and so said that.
Mhm. Oh, Rolodex.
Wow. Kids, this is what you used before you had contacts in your iPhone. Okay. Close. Hmm. Okay.
So she's told a lot of the people who come and give her different services her personal business.
Hmm. They're privy to that. Kind of like hairdressers privy to all kinds of like talk. Oh my goodness. I'm hating right now. Those beautiful books. Okay. Okay.
Hmm. Oh, yes. And she died. She was
Mm-hmm.
pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
He is spending a lot of time with this woman.
I'm glad I'm not the only person who's seeing this. It's a little suspect. Who's watching?
What the what?
He's being followed. Makes you wonder. Got bags from Tesco. Oh, somebody broke in his house.
Oh my god.
Yep. I think with these books is why it started to get out that the royal family is not what it appears to be.
I knew they didn't know about the book. I knew it.
That was their first mistake.
I'm
Mhm.
not sure I would have said anything.
Yeah, because you don't. Well, they
Is
probably had no idea that they would actually be like this,
mhm.
even
It,
though
I'm sorry.
even though we know they're like this. Hmm.
Oh, she's only using her cell. So that's her father-in-law.
Mhm.
They're going to ask you why, what's up with this book?
Why are you putting us in such a bad light? Don't you know we've been good to you? Don't you know how good you have it? How dare you put our business out in the street like that? Was it season 3 or season 4 where he basically told her, "You need to stay, to toe the line," and she was like, "And what if I don't?"
Yeah, yeah, and it was uncomfortable because she wasn't in the wrong.
No, Philip. I forgot about Kensington.
Mhm.
Here it comes. Hmm. Oh, you don't plan to stay long. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, because your son's a doofus. Hmm. Keep that dirty laundry in the house. Image of the monarchy.
What? Really?
Keep your mouth shut. Yes, that's exactly it.
In public?
Yes.
Oh dear. But it's
And
too
that's
late.
it. Yeah, that train has left the station. What's to say?
Mhm. Because you know that book's going to be like the number one bestseller.
Mm-hmm. Second time we've seen that eagle.
He
Is
didn't
it eagle?
ask. Uh, it might be he didn't ask her if she, was in the process of sharing information. I would have asked, knowing that this book is coming out.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Hmm. Very odd.
I miss those songs from the 80s and the great music.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. My life is torture.
Hmm. There you go.
Yes.
They thought she'd be easy to control. No.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
The look on her face.
She's just like, I don't freaking want to be here.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. All right, episode 3.
All right, all right, all right.
It
I love this.
is so fantastic. And this episode is called MOU MOU. MOU MOU. Is it a word? MOU MOU.
Alexandria. Mhm.
So the book comes out and I'm sure the entire family is even more angry with her.
Oh, of course. All of their dirty secrets and dirty laundry is out there and they can't control the narrative.
Oh, now that's the Duke and Duchess of Windsor.
Yes. Hmm. Now, was that when they were putting real cocaine in the Coca-Cola?
Maybe.
He's got the sweater tied on, looking preppy. Mm. Muhammad Al Fayed.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how he started out?
Because the Al Fayeds wound up buying Harrods actually. So the Al Fayed family actually owns they own Harrods. But yeah, that's interesting that that's where they started out. Excuse me. Because I just know them as just being crazy rich.
Yes. Billionaires, they're billionaires. Like it's
Yes, absolute billionaires. I think they have even their own tartan pattern made in Scotland. Yeah, because the Al Fayeds own Harrods, that's why they have the engagement ring that Dodi Al Fayed gave, or reportedly was going to give to Diana. Just a whole shrine to it in the basement of Harrods. Have you been to Harrods?
I have been to Harrods.
So you've been down the basement with the.
I have, yes.
That's a darn shame. All the Americans and my mom was like, "Did you see it? Did you see the?" I was like, "Yes, yes, I saw that and the Egyptian staircase too." Uh, mm.
So this is where the fire or the spark is lit in his mind. Trying, nothing's going to stand in his way to be success. I want to match them, and I want to be like them, and I want to have the power like them.
He's like, "I want to be able to play the game and play it even better than they do." Because I think that was part of the resentment because he was kind of like what you would call new money here in the US, that whole class struggle between old money and new money. And you have the people who the British crown used to quote unquote subjugate. Now all of a sudden they're the ones with the money. Oh, that's his butler.
He's never gotten over the fact that he's no longer the king.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like it's like you decided to let go of the crown. Yeah, I see him and I think of Jeffrey from Fresh Prince of Bel Air, the proper Jamaican English butler. I love it.
All right, that looks like a wedding dress.
Hmm. Yeah, you hear the women mutilating. Yeah,
So he married a wealthy girl, and this must be when Dodie is born.
hmm, I love those Belladere outfits.
Aw.
Why? Because he had the hustle, and that was the thing. There you go.
And it is very interesting because, as you and I are both aware, it was controversial for Mohammed Al Fayed, um, not just owning Harrods, but even to become a British citizen at one point.
Mhm.
You know, he essentially was blocked from doing a lot of things that just an ordinary person would be able to do. And it almost didn't even matter because he, you know, for I guess a time he became Great Britain's most well known resident, I guess,
Mhm.
being in the UK. And just, you know, he didn't really seem too bothered by the notion that they were resistant towards him. But um, you know, I think from what we were seeing here, he was just driven, like you said, Lorena, to become successful, and he was very, very, very successful. Um, but he wanted his son. The dedication to his son is, you can see this here, that he
Mhm.
wants the best for his son.
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting that they chose to follow him from when his son was born. I think that's also very interesting.
Hmm. I think especially because some of us really don't know the story of really Dodi Al-Fayed. He kind of like came out of nowhere. So it's like for most of us, we just know him as, the woman who was courting Diana Spencer. And unfortunately, was in the car with both of them were based, I think he was killed instantly, I think.
Yeah,
I
it was
think he was, but Diana died at the hospital. So it was like we didn't really know that much about Dodi Al Fayed. So that's interesting. Like you say, I mean, I agree with you that they start from when he was born. No? It's crazy when I hear French. It's just like after I'm like, yeah, I remember that word. I remember that word. I remember that word. That's right, because they were from Algeria. Was it Algeria?
I don't
Was
remember.
it Algeria? I was going to say if it was Algeria. I think the British governed Egypt, the French governed Algeria, and the Italians governed Libya, if I remember correctly.
Oh, this is when they buy the Ritz Hotel in France, in Paris.
Money, 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 money. Yes. Because that was the big deal because he was an outsider that bought darn Ritz,
Hmm.
like the jewel of French hoteliers, and he bought it.
Yes. Hmm.
You want this check or not?
And that check will clear.
Yes. Yes.
What?
Really?
I never knew about this. Did you?
I did not. You want me to translate that? I find it interesting how he says this in Arabic and has his son translate it.
They must honor the offer.
Yeah,
They can't turn this down.
but they want to drag him through the mud for how he got his money, not the fact that, okay, I'll just take the check. And that was, yeah, I remember this was a big deal that the Ritz was no longer owned by the French. And that's when the Ritz started to get really popular with younger people.
Yes. This is discrimination. 100% discrimination.
Very much so. And my question is, because I didn't know, because I'm like, did this actually happen? I don't put it past this happening at all.
I was unaware of it.
I just remember reading articles about how this was so a lot of people, especially a lot of French, were not happy that the Ritz was bought by someone who was, who wasn't French. I think they just felt personally insulted that, this Egyptian swimming in money has more money to buy their hotel.
And was it during a recession that he
I think
purchased
it
the hotel?
I think it was because I think the Ritz was in trouble and nobody really wanted to buy it. No disrespect, because I do have French ancestors, but dang it, y'all French can be real pretentious. Really. And it's
No, he's
not
the
just
prime
me.
minister,
Ooh.
isn't he? Jacques Chirac was the prime. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's the mayor. I thought he was the prime.
Is he trying to tell the black guy to get out?
What?
Now I got a problem with that.
Why?
Oh, so you don't like discrimination made against you, but you want to push that discrimination down on other classes.
But he's a servant. I mean, he's serving stuff.
Yeah.
France is known for somewhat more of being a tolerant nation, aren't they?
They are known for that, but I find it's an interesting situation. The French are more open about that, but sometimes when you get other discriminated classes, they'll look it down on others like, okay, so now I can exercise power, you know, over you. And Dodie knows that that's not right at all. But it's interesting. It's like they'll talk about the discrimination that white people will have towards, other classes, but they don't talk about the discrimination that other ethnicities will show towards others. It's very interesting.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. I didn't know that that was his valet.
Yeah, so you effed up.
It's quite a misstep. You won't be social climbing there.
I like that. I like that they did that.
He is a social climber.
Oh yeah. You can't go just throwing people out like that and you don't know because of because of your prejudice.
So what is his explanation going to be now?
It's going to be interesting. I'm going to love to hear this.
And he's Bahamian.
Yes.
Hmm.
He is showing you much more respect than you showed him.
Such a nice sounding voice and accent.
That proper Bahamian accent.
Hmm.
What does that mean?
What difference should it make?
Exactly. It shouldn't. But I also think part of it is him being the product of his era. Really.
He's a social climber. He wants to learn the Western ways.
Hmm. I just find it interesting. You were willing to throw this dude out on the street just purely for his looks. Now
Tell
you want
who
something
he
from
is.
him. Hmm. But it's like, okay, I'll be that.
Well, if he's from the Bahamas, he probably is very well read because their school is a big deal over there.
I remember I would look at pictures of like Bahamian school children, and I was like crushing on their uniforms, like the Bahamas, Barbados.
Yes.
If you were attending people in higher society, you also needed to be educated in their ways at the same time.
He's this butler is, I don't know, he's there's something about him that's very appealing. Aside from the fact that he's a butler, and you can see how young he was when he first started with the Duke of Windsor. But
Mhm.
certainly he is very special person. He has a wonderful deportment about him.
Exactly. It's like his mannerisms. It's like, I mean, I joke about Jeffrey the Butler in The Fresh Prince of Bel Air because for some of us, that's the first time that we have actually seen an English butler, and how Uncle Phil was very specific about that he wanted an English butler
Mhm.
because of his manners and because he would interact with his children.
And I think it made all the difference for the children in the house.
Absolutely. Absolutely, especially with manners and, well, as much as he could anyway. Yes.
So now that he knows that polo is important, Dodie has to play polo. You know, he has
Yes.
to go to certain schools. He needs to have certain social events. He has to attend. You know, what's the name of that race that they have? It's not Astor, but he has to attend all those important events in order to be introduced into British society or European society properly.
Exactly. Exactly. And you have to sound like you belong. You have to be able to make the conversation. You have to understand certain customs. It's very involved, like you were saying. It's the difference between just, some fool off the street trying to roll in there. It's like, no, that's not how how it is. It's very interesting because also I keep making this comparison because it's true. Even in the South, there's certain manners that you trade. There's certain, circles that you meet people. There's certain events that you meet people. It's very important how you are dressed for a certain occasion.
And they're doing the dressage. I always love the dressage. It's actually my favorite part of the competition, but they don't always show it. In fact, they mainly focus on the horse jumping, which is fine, but I like the dressage.
Yeah.
Terribly rude.
Extremely rude.
He is close to the queen.
You are close to the point. Oh God, he's. Mm-hmm.
Hence, that's how he got the idea. I guess he'll have to buy him out.
Yes. Harrods is the jewel in England's crown. There is nothing quite like it.
Mhm.
Debenhams can't be like it. Marks and Spencer, which I love to death, will not be like it. There is nothing in the world like Harrods.
And we know how much the queen loves her horses. So
Yes.
he'll need to get, an entire group of horses, upper, level thoroughbreds,
Yes.
possibly even get her attention that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking exactly what you are talking. It is a British institution.
Yes, the most famous department store in the shopping addicts, even in the US, we're just like, we go to the UK, where do we want to go? Harrods. 600 million
That's a lot of
pounds.
money even now.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the store. He wants
No, exactly. He wants it. To own Harrods, you just that man, the British institution.
And what's interesting about this is in the United States, stuff like this happens quite often.
Yes.
See people come, and they could be from other countries, and they can acquire assets like this. But I don't know how common it was in the UK at that time. This might be the first time anybody's ever done anything like this.
I think for them, I don't think it was. Because here in the US, like you were saying, it's so common. People will come in here, buy property, buy sort. It's just like, do you have the money? Okay, fine. Take the money, and the transaction is done. With the British and how their customs are and how formalized things are, having to do that, it's kind of like, who wants to just go and buy the most famous store in the world here? It's kind of like the issue with buying the Ritz. Why do you want to buy the most famous French hotel? But he doesn't want to do this. He wants to be a hedge fund manager.
I'm very surprised by that.
Yeah, I didn't know. Why does this look like Chariots of
It looks a lot
Chariots of
like
Fire?
Chariots of Fire. It's exactly like Chariots of Fire.
or are they film? Oh,
Did they sponsor this film?
interesting question.
I remember the song won it like an Academy Award.
Hmm.
It's a famous film. It's a really
So it
famous.
looks, yeah, so it looks like he did produce it. Ah,
What do you think, Dad?
I like how you think.
Mm. So that's how he could fund bankroll anything he wants as long as it has that element in it.
Hmm.
Here it is when
Because
it wins. It I don't remember whether it did it win movie of the year. What did it win? It was the music or was it something else?
I don't know if it was the music. So he worked with Warner Brothers. I think Chariots of Fire did win
Movie
because
of
Lucasfilm didn't. Wow. To know he was actually behind that movie, but they don't know that he was behind that movie. I don't think he's really going to get mentioned.
Oh,
Oh, well,
I don't even remember this. Do you remember this at
I
all?
do not remember this at all.
Oh my gosh. Their names were mentioned during the Academy Awards. It's a big deal. Wow.
I got to hand it to them for doing their research on this because I
Yeah.
I knew I didn't even know they were behind that movie, and that was one of the most popular and groundbreaking movies
It
story
was.
wise of that time.
And look at how he's made Harrods look now like a jewel. It's just he's made it, improved it, and just
A tiny sellout gives the Arabs Harrods.
it's not a tiny sellout at all.
No, not at all.
It was almost half a billion dollars. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Ritz. Oh,
Oh, she passed away?
he'll need to attend the services, I imagine, or maybe he's
Mhm.
just upset about it. But
Yeah, because he used to work for them, like, hmm,
wow,
even though
in old age, 90.
in old age, I mean, even though, they did hang around with, the SS.
Oh,
It's still a shame. Even though they did kind of treat her like crap.
and I'm guessing she was buried in the same place that her husband was buried. I don't know where the
Mhm,
former king uh, would be buried. I don't know where he is. Okay, so they are buried together. Thank goodness.
mhm. With their Bible.
What? Someone unwell?
Sounds like it. He's not well.
Gee, he brought the tea over.
It's interesting to show that's how their dynamic has changed. I should buy it.
To be honest with you, seeing that that Dodie's father could do what was needed to be done to even admitting when he was wrong. I think that does show that he does have an interesting character. You know, we people aren't perfect and they make mistakes. And he was able to make lemon out of lemonade, maybe even as far as I'm concerned, when it came to this butler. Now
Hmm.
looking at this estate, this property that's gone into disrepair. And Lorena, there were so many at that time that people just had to walk away from. They couldn't afford to keep these estates up.
Hmm.
This is the former estate of the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, then, right?
Yes.
That's remarkable. I didn't know this. Did you?
I had no I had no idea. Such a beautiful place. Can't afford to keep it up, so it goes into disrepair. And look at the tapestries.
I bet you the whole
Just
place, all the furniture's there. I bet you everything's in that house. No one took anything.
hmm
It's probably still intact.
there's a royal box. Hmm.
Oh no. What? Oh my goodness. He acquired this? Oh my gosh.
Wait, the French bought it?
No one's going to outbid him. Maybe they were French citizens, you know, they couldn't stay in Great Britain.
Oh, okay.
So it goes into, you know, like if you pass away, you don't have a will, it goes to the state, you know, and the state then goes ahead and so
Okay.
the French don't want this property. They want to sell it right
Hmm.
away. And I'm sure he said, I'll give you 10 million for it or
Yeah,
5 million.
I'll take it off your hands.
Mhm. Give it 5, 6 years. It might start to
Hmm.
look like something. They know he purchased it because it was the former estate of the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. And this might be seen as an embarrassment to the royal family for not holding on to certain things and perhaps
Hmm.
some private information that might be in this estate.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Mm.
I don't think they're going to be appreciative of this. I'm not quite
To
sure whether it even matters. What do you think, Lorena?
I don't think that it will. I think that they will really find it in a way to be an insult to have this happen, especially since I don't think that the elder Fayed understands the history and the acrimony between the former Duke of Windsor and the royal family. So I think the royal family, I think they're just going to see it as an attempt for him to try to gain influence, and he's not a royal. I
It's
do not
selling.
think it's. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna go over well.
He just can't seem to take a right turn, you know? Everything is works against him.
A visit. I told you they just are just like really.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh shoot.
Really? How are they going to get it back? What a disgrace and embarrassment for the royal family.
Yep. You don't want that getting out, do you? Mm-hmm. You remember that, right? Right?
Hmm. So then you get it, right? Family, that you have to go there. Hmm.
You're gonna have to kiss up to Mr. Fayed. That's what you're gonna have to do. He's like, my whole life.
I want to hear what his butler has to say about this visit and what should
Yeah.
and shouldn't be taking place. You know, because she can go into a private home and take something. I don't know whether they still do that, but it's possible for her to do that, I think.
Yeah, I really don't know.
Mhm. I'd have to consult with someone to just make sure that in the circumstance like this, where he knows that quite a few of the things in the house might be things that the royal family may be desirous to get back into their possession. So, certainly it would be something that lawyers would have to sit down and work out. It can't be anything that they can just walk in and do what they like.
Exactly, because it's like it wasn't owned by you. The house was put up for a sale with the possessions that were in it. That contract was completed. So they really this is okay, granted I'm American. I'm thinking this is just me. There's really no obligation, no legal obligation for them to turn this information over. There may be a social obligation, but not a legal one.
Well, another thing too to consider, Lorena, is that this is a oh my God, they're taking the stuff. I wouldn't have. I don't know.
Wait. They just roll in and just take you just gonna let them take this stuff?
I don't know about this.
So basically, they did not get out of the car. He's thinking that they're gonna come in and have a proper visit.
Don't let her have those back.
Don't let out of back. Bruh. That's a slap in the face. They
Yes,
didn't come in, they didn't negotiate.
something's wrong because it was all property of the French government and he purchased it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, he didn't. She's not going to be happy with anything you do. That's not the way things are done.
It's like he's in this mindset of his culture in a way. His butler is trying to tell him this is how English culture is.
The attorney should have been contacted. It should have gone through proper channels. Um, However, that should have been done, and it should have been
Mhm.
passed over or passed from one family to another properly through proper channels.
Right. But I think he thinks that if I do this, the queen is going to welcome me into her confidence circle.
And I'm wondering, Lorena, how that was truly interpreted as to whether or not he was taken advantage of in this particular case. A private citizen, or maybe even someone who is not even a citizen of this country, has
Hmm.
now had things taken away from them that were formerly owned by the French government. Certainly no longer possessions of the British, monarchy or even the
Right.
kingdom. They didn't want them when the house was on auction. Why? Why didn't they want them then? It's very questionable, isn't it?
Extremely. If you think this dude, well, first of all, his wife dies, and you know he does not like y'all, any of y'all. I don't, maybe they didn't understand exactly just how much the Duke of Windsor did not like his family.
And I've
And they're
seen,
probably thinking, oh, well, there's nothing there that could possibly, bother or cause any problem until, Elder Fayed looked through it, found out all the stuff that was in there, and basically said, hey, you might want this back. And it's like, oh, okay, shoot.
and I have
Uh,
seen in some situations where there's a death and there are possessions remaining, that even in some of the person who owned the person who's deceased will often will say that some of the possessions are not to go to certain people, and I wouldn't be
mhm,
surprised if there was something in a will saying something like that, in his case. But
right.
I don't know the details. However, I think that if they were supposed to go to someone, it
Hmm.
would have gone to them directly, and that's usually what happens, isn't it?
Hmm. Usually.
Usually it's written down in a will, that's where it goes. So now I
Exactly.
know what's gonna happen here. He's gonna be very zealous and approach the queen, and she will snub him.
Again, again, I really don't think it's like he didn't pay attention to what his butler was trying to tell him about how things work in British society. It's a different culture, and he's thinking that he can kind of buy his way in, thinks it's egalitarian that way, and it is not at all.
What? She's not sitting with him?
Nope. She's not trying to give this infidel.
Diana, that's how they meet. Is this how they meet, Lorena?
I think so.
Because of the queen.
Mhm. Interesting.
Very interesting. The queen didn't think that this might be somewhat, what's the word?
Ingratiate.
Later on, it would cause her some displeasure,
Mhm.
because I think that many of us feel, I can't say everybody, that there are many people who feel that Diana's association with the Al Fayeds was something that the British royals were not happy with.
No, they were not happy with it at all. They're outsiders. Um, in a way, it doesn't sound polite, but it's the truth. Lower than British commoners, and just like, do you really think that you can just buy your way, into the royal family? Like, no, no, you can't buy your way in access. But you have Diana, who's completely different animal, knows what it's like to be treated like an outsider, and she sees um, the elder Fayed, who nicknamed Moo. I guess that's why this come from. Um, she just sees him as who he is, somebody with lots of freaking money. So it's like there shouldn't be this this social barrier, so to speak, because the British, uh, it's a class system.
And I'm sure as soon as Diana saw Jody, he's an attractive man.
Mm.
You know, I'm sure he caught her eye. I'm not saying anything happened prior to the divorce, but I'm sure he caught her eye as being an eligible bachelor, which he
Mhm.
is. He was certainly an eligible.
Very much so. He's the son of a very, very filthily rich man. Ooh, I should have kept my Harrods bag. What,
He's
Rolex?
the queen's gifts because the queen didn't show up to the box.
Should be like, I got all this swag. Don't you wish you went?
Well, he knows who she is. Everyone in the world knows who she is. Having her sit next to him might be even a better mood for him socially, but
Yeah. Socially, I would say, I would say kind of like how it would appeal with like on the world stage, so to speak, to see Diana with him, since she's more has more social clout than the queen at this point in time. Wow.
Lorena, that this last episode, Lorena, of course, you and I have looked at the first three episodes of The Crown here in this watch party, and this last episode, Lorena, I'm just blown away by what I've learned. I had no idea about Dodi El Fayed's family, about the Al Fayeds. We'd heard
Mhm.
about them so much, but the history of the father, he was remarkable, and as I said, he had some missteps, and he learned from that.
Mhm.
Certainly somebody who was amazing, one of the best for his son. He's achieved success that very few people will ever achieve in their lifetime. Um, and he is willing to do what's necessary in order to gain access for his son, which he did. His son is there, and you can see his son is chatting with people in a way that he's not able to. So sometimes in cases like this, where the child is able to kind of adapt to of a more Western style upbringing, he seems to have done that. Certainly, his son,
Mhm.
everybody recognized international. I'm not going to say he's a playboy, but it's sort of a very well international
Yeah.
bachelor. And before he met Diana, he was engaged to another young lady, very well, and they
Oh,
make.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he was engaged to another young lady, literally, and she was very public about the fact that he didn't actually break their engagement. And he gave her a ring that had to be worth about $1 million. I don't remember if she kept it or what the story was, but he didn't bother asking for it back, from what I remember. But she went public with it. And I do remember that very specifically. And she felt very slighted
Mhm.
because, of course, he fell in love with Diana at that time, before they both passed. But honestly,
Right.
a lot more involved, Lorena. I had no idea. I mean, we saw, you and I talked about the review. We saw the pictures of the Al Fayeds. I had no
Mhm.
idea we were getting something like this. You were absolutely right about the research, not just in the Butler, but in the Al Fayed family. Lorena, this might be one of the best documentations of the Al Fayeds I've ever seen. It's certainly the first one I've ever seen. What do you think, Lorena?
Like I said, I loved the research that they went back and did. I'm a stickler for that sort of thing. Like I said, from what I remember is, you know, the Al-Fayeds owning Harrods. So it's like, where did they get their money? Because like for me, that's kind of like where I heard where they came from. And like I said, they actually had their own Scottish tartan design made. I know because they sold that sucker in Harrods when I went, but I didn't really know much about them at all. So the fact that they went all the way back to the beginnings of where the elder Fayed came from, because that was our question. How did he make his money? And you see who he is then, knows what he has to do, and his objective is to be rich enough to be on the same level as the British royal family. That was his objective, and he was willing to give his son the world. That was like part of his hustle, that he wanted to do whatever he had to do to elevate his son to be at particular that particular level. So finding out about that, I forgot about the Ritz purchase.
Yeah, I
I
did.
had completely forgot about that, about just the controversy around it, and how it was almost, well, actually, it was like a slap in the face to the French to find out that, you had these foreigners purchasing the crown jewel of the French hotel, known as the Ritz. I didn't know about how he met Diana at all, how the elder met Diana. I had no clue
I
how
didn't
that
either.
how that happened. Didn't know about him purchasing the estate of the former Duke of Windsor. Didn't know about that either. So we got to see all the steps and the moves that this man made in order to position himself so that his son could comfortably run around in the same circles where Diana was. So I just thought that that was excellent, putting that piece together. I'm pretty sure people will tell us, because this show does take a bit of artistic license with some things. So I would love to know how historically accurate. Of course, I could use Google and find out, but I don't want to do that. How historically accurate some of this was with respect to the elder Fayed. But I'm impressed. The fact that they went back and told the story of the father to catch you up with what is eventually going to happen with the son. So I thought that was beautifully executed. The way that it ended at the end, you see Dodi Al Fayed meets Diana, apparently facilitated by his dad.
There is quite a bit of irony for it to be the situation where, let's say allegedly, because we don't know if it's entirely true, that
Uh-huh.
that somehow Diana ended up sitting next to him and meets him that way. It's quite ironic, almost as if she was put into the path of the Al Fayeds by the British royal family, in a sense. At least that's what it is implying. Certainly, we know that
Mhm.
since the Al Fayed family did come into possession of that property, as I had said, I believe that the Duke and Duchess of Windsor had to leave Great Britain and became perhaps French citizens when he abdicated the throne. He had to leave
Right.
Great Britain. He couldn't
Mhm.
stay in Great Britain anymore after that. And, I could see why it went to the French. They did decide to will it to someone, but they never stepped on the claim of the will. And now
Mhm.
once it's owned by somebody, and someone is occupying the area, he invited them in and gave them those pieces, which
Right.
I think were acquired. Perhaps the lineage of the pieces was
Mhm.
not in doubt, but I think the way that they were acquired was not quite the way that you acquire antiquities that belong to you. It would have gone through a much lengthier process.
Mhm.
And then, of course, we saw the butler, who had been like a ray of light to Dodi as well as his father, in
Mhm.
educating them in the ways of sort of Western deportment,
Yes.
especially his connection to the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. On top of that,
Mhm.
had that misstep, as we said, but he corrected himself, which shows that the father is as a man who learns from his mistakes and very savvy. Certainly, a man of the century. He can do things that where he can learn.
Mhm.
It's interesting that when he was sitting next to Diana and she said, "You must have spent a lot of money to sit here," and he says, "Yeah, a fortune." And she says, "Do you like horses?" He's like, "No, I don't." And I thought that that was very interesting because she realized, he's there for that reason, but she didn't judge it. You
No,
know, she,
it was just no, it was just like, yeah, okay, you did what you had to do get close to the queen, and I have to kind of admire the lack of pretense behind that. Like, yeah, I don't really care about horses, but I needed to have the seat, so here I am. And she's just like, that is so refreshing to just come out and say that, as if if you're there with horses, you have to pretend to like horses in order to make nice with the queen. So yeah, I did like that.
And what was interesting is that they showed it at the same time you saw Dodie, who really is an insider, isn't he? He's speaking with other Brits, and it's almost as if he's one of them as he's standing in the circle talking to everybody about the events that are going on. He's not sitting in the stands with his father. He kind of, is with the in crowd. He's out on the field talking to everybody about, oh, did you see this? And he's known for, if I'm correct in this, Lorena, I'm pretty sure that he played polo his whole life, and he was sort of in the in crowd. It's very ironic to see, his father not in that in crowd, and Dodie to be quite well healed
Mm-hmm.
with that group, that where it's very hard to gain acceptance if you're an outsider. He didn't appear to be an outsider. He seemed to be fit right in, whereas Diana, perhaps maybe not so much of an insider in that regard. But it's very interesting, Lorena. I was not expecting something so profound in an episode so profound as this. I
Mm-hmm.
can understand why people are raving about it. Thank you so much for joining me for the watch party for the first 3 episodes, Lorena. This has been wonderful.
You are very welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure watching the show with you. I love just like the insights that we kind of bounce off of each other, while we watch this. And I'm just looking forward to watching the rest of the episodes with you.
I am as well, Lorena. So since we are kind of ending, episodes 1, 2, and 3 tonight, Lorena, where can people find you?
Well, folks, you can find me on Twitter, where I have a brand spanking shiny new blue check, Twitter blue. So I have that. So you can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on Instagram. And of course, you can find me on YouTube doing various videos and live streams. As a matter of fact, and I did a video review of Wakanda Forever. So you definitely want to check that out.
Absolutely, guys. Please do subscribe to Lorena's channel. Check out our review of Wakanda that we just did. We got straight out of the theater and did our review yesterday. And of course, you can find Lorena and I doing our Toxic Male Appreciation shows. Go ahead and check those out as well. You guys can find me here on Positive Fandom, as well as the Post Geek Singularity. Lorena and I do a show on that channel, on Robert Meyer Burnett's channel as well. The Ladies of the PGS, which we have a lot to say on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Do check us out there, and also check out my live show on Positive Fandom called Sunday Brunch at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Guys, thank you so much for watching this. Lorena and I are going to review this entire season 5 of The Crown. Wow, this has been so amazing. Episodes 1, 2, and 3. Lorena, I just can't wait to see what the next few episodes are going to bring us. Oh, I think you're muted.
I totally boomered myself with that. I cannot wait to watch the rest of the episodes. This is that period of time in the history of the royal family where I remember things that things
Yes.
that happened. So cannot wait to see where they go with the rest of this.
Me too, Lorena. I'm so excited. And for everybody who's watching, thank you for tuning in and watching this watch party of The Crown season 5, episodes 1 through 3. And for everybody out there, wherever you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind, guys. Take care. Bye.
Bye.